We're just going to let people kind of trickle in here. And we'll get started very shortly, but if you're here for the high school student information session, you've come to the right place. So I just wait another minute. Carly, just let me know when you're ready. Just make sure that you've muted yourself if you're not on mute. Okay, so we'll get started right away. Carly, if you want to record. All right, so my name is Virginia. I'm with the Werklund School of Education as one of the student advisors. This is the high school student information session, and I'm joined by Carly as well from admissions. So we're here tonight to answer some questions, give you a bit of presentation, and welcome to our program. So I just want to take this opportunity to acknowledge that the University of Calgary resides on the traditional territories of the people of Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta, inclusive of the Blackfoot Confederacy, which comprises the Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai First Nations, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and the Stoney Nakoda, which includes the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations. The city of Calgary is also home to Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3. So what we're going to be covering tonight is just some information. So we're going to go through some aspects of like, why would you choose our program? What is the Bachelor of Education? Some of the descriptions of our different BEd pathways. We'll go through field experience, our four-year BEd pathway, our concurrent BEd pathway, which we're going to talk a little bit more in detail. Some of the student opportunities that you have and the really incredible kind of experiences you can get involved in, and then some of the resources available to you, as well as our contact information. What I will say is that we'll have time for questions at the end. So if you do have questions that come up, we're going to have a good time to do some Q&As. So at the meantime, I just ask you to hold your questions, and then we'll go through those at the end. Okay, so big question, why choose the Werklund School of Education? One of the things is that we have a very responsive school. So we are constantly doing upgrades to equipment, facilities, but the big thing is teaching. So we do student feedback, and we always constantly evolve in terms of what we're offering. We're really a school of teaching excellence and leading pedagogical research as well. And the big thing is, while we may be a incredible school, we are also a small environment. So there's only 4 of us advisors in the office, and we're here to really help you, and we're very responsive to the students that are in our program. A couple of other big talking points here. We are a top 5 education faculty in Canada. So we're up in the QS World Rankings, the Maclean's Rankings. May not mean much to you, but it does mean that we are held to a very high bar in Canada for education teaching. There is also $1.2 million in scholarships and bursaries. So there's travel and research grant for you to present your work at both a national, a local level, also international conferences as well. And we have 20 weeks of program integrated field experience. So this is really important. Our students do find that they love that hands-on learning opportunity. We also offer exceptional experiential learning opportunities. So that includes opportunities for funded summer research, international education placements through teaching across borders, which we'll talk about tonight. Some co-curricular credit opportunities as well. So this is one of the hallmarks of what makes Werklund so great. And then the big thing is, of course, that everyone always asks, that we do find that 85% of undergraduates find jobs within 4 months of graduation. So we do have very high statistics. Even talking about last year, we had over half of our students get early job offers. So they were starting the day after classes started, or a day after classes ended. So very, very high employment statistics as well. A couple of other things too, we have very small class sizes. So typically most classes are under 40 students. So it does give you that really good teacher to student ratio, giving you opportunity to really network and meet with your peers as well. So you're not in massive, 200 plus university size lecture halls for your education courses. So it does give you that really great experience. We also have, as I mentioned before, some great scholarships. So we do have up to 6 scholarships of $20,000 each available to students entering their Bachelor of Education program. So this is available for 4-year BEd students, as well as 5-year concurrent students who are entering their education years. The big thing that we would encourage you to do is make sure you apply early, because these are kind of we notify students typically around the time of March about these scholarships available. So the earlier you can get admitted, the earlier you can apply for these scholarships. So they're great. They are based on academic merit as well as your extracurricular activities. So you basically want to demonstrate your community service, volunteerism, or leadership activities as well. So big question, what is a Bachelor of Education? Big thing is it's not only an undergraduate degree, it is a professional program. And so we do hold professional standards of our students in the program. It is a requirement in Alberta to teach in a K-12 classroom environment, and a requirement in large part in Canada as well, though education is a provincial certification. So in Alberta, what a K-12 certification means is that you can teach any grade or any subject in the K-12 system, but what you can teach is a hiring decision. So I like to tell students, you can teach underwater basket weaving to kindergartners or astrophysics to grade 12 students, but ultimately it's who's hiring you that kind of decides what you're going to teach or what they need for a teacher. So at the UC, there are a couple of different pathways in which a student can pursue a B.Ed. The quickest way to complete a B.Ed would be our 4-year B.Ed program. We also offer a 5-year concurrent or combined degree program with another faculty, which I'll go into later. We also as well offer an after degree. So this is if you have a previous degree. We won't be talking about that much tonight, but we will be having an after degree information session on December 16th at 6 p.m. And more information is available on our website if you want to register for that. But the after degree is essentially designed for literally after you have a bachelor's degree, and that's a 2-year program. The 4- and 5-year pathways are available for high school transfer students who have not yet completed a degree. So that's really what we're going to get into tonight. So some of the difference between the 4- and 5-year program. The 4-year Bachelor of Education degree consists of those 2 years of education-specific courses, which is combined with also 2 years of non-education courses. So this includes breadth requirements, so like what we call foundational requirements. You've got a few electives, and then you also have your teachable subject area specialization courses. Now, while I mentioned that it is a K-12 certification, we always find it very helpful to actually have teachable subject area expertise in at least one area. And it's particularly helpful if you're teaching at the secondary level and above. So that basically constitutes 120 units in the program. The 5-year concurrent B.Ed, also called the combined degree program, it consists of Bachelor of Education at the end of your program, and at the beginning of your program, either a Bachelor of Science, Arts, or CNEAS degree. So that's basically the 2 years of education, very similar structure to the 4-year education program. At the end, following 3 years of study in your co-degree. And those are basically hand-picked courses that are nested together for that combined degree program. No matter what pathway that you're choosing or that you apply into and accepted to, you will have field experiences. This is tied in with certification requirements. Field 1 is going to be 2 weeks long during your full Education 400 semester. So this is a block of 400 level courses that you'll take in the first education semester. This involves typically a week at an elementary school and a week at a secondary school. And this is strictly observational, so it does give you that exposure to both, because ultimately the program is designed to teach you how to be an amazing teacher, regardless of what level and teachable that you have. Field 2 is going to be 4 weeks long, and this is during the winter Education 400 semester. So a following semester of Education 400 block. This is an opportunity to work with your partner teachers in developing classroom lesson plans, and you'll be given an opportunity to teach up to 50% of the time in the classroom. So it kind of baby steps you into teaching. The Field 3 is typically at a 4th school, and this is 6 weeks long and in the fall semester of your final year. So you're always going to finish off your final year with all the education courses, regardless of which B.Ed pathway you're going with. And then in this particular field, you're going to be teaching up to 75% of the time. And then your final Field 4 is going to be 8 weeks long, and this is in the winter semester of your final year. So this is often the same school as I mentioned in Field 3, and it's where you're teaching up to 100% of the time for those 8 weeks. So again, it's 2, 4, 6, 8. You know, who do we appreciate? So that's kind of the structure of your field experiences in those different education semesters. The 4-year program structure for the 4-year B.Ed is intended to be completed in 4 years. So you'll have 10 courses a year approximately, which of course equals 40 total courses. These courses are broken into the 21 education major courses, which you'll have to take regardless of your 4 or 5 year pathway. And then you'll have 19 non-education courses in the 4-year program. These non-education courses are broken into 3 subcategories. So your teachable subject area courses, which you have 8 of, your 6 foundationals across a breadth of subject areas, and then 5 freely chosen electives, or what we also call options courses. And then if you want to see a visual representation, apologies, of what that looks like, right on our website, we actually have a suggested program sequence with information on kind of how that's broken down or how we suggest it to be broken down. The 5-year BEd, so this is, again, something that you would do in conjunction with another faculty. So you would start your program in either a Bachelor of Arts, a Bachelor of Science, or Bachelor of Kinese. Now, I will note that because there's only specific degrees, there's only certain allowable degree combinations. So you do want to make sure to check if you're looking at, like, say, a teachable subject area of secondary English, that what it pairs with. So in this case, a Bachelor of Arts in English would be an allowable degree combination, but a Bachelor of Arts in, development studies or whatnot would not be an allowable degree combination. So that's something that you want to be aware of when you're looking to apply for that you are applying for an allowable degree combination with the 5-year program structure. I will note that if you're interested in a degree kind of like psychology or something like that doesn't exist within that program, it's a really good idea to meet with an advisor, because this is where we can talk to you about options such as like the after degree options or 4-year BEds, or potentially looking at some of the different opportunities within the 5-year program structure. So it's definitely something worth talking to a person on our team about. The 5-year program is intended to be completed in 5 years. The first 3 years, as I mentioned, spent within your co-degree, with the exception of Education 201, which you typically will take in fall or winter of your first year. And this is the Introduction to Education courses that basically gives you an introduction to education, so you can kind of find out if it's for you or not, because you might not be the person that right off the bat knows that you want to become a teacher, but you're really curious and interested in that. And if that's something that's interesting to you, Education 201 is a great course to take. We do also offer a series of 200 and 300 courses that you can take for elective options during your co-degree as well, but that is one of the required courses in our program. And then once you're done your co-degree, which you can take sometimes more than just 3 years to complete if you do want to take the extra time, you can move into then the education courses. And the education courses are basically the same major courses that are included in the 4-year pathway and the after degree pathway, as we kind of talked about. And those are ones that you would move into only when you're done all your co-degree requirements. So you have 7 years when you enter the program to complete your program. But that's an important distinction, is that you'll do that at the end of your program as opposed to throughout, like the 4-year program. At the end of the day, you receive 2 parchments, so 2 degrees, and you'll walk the stage and get both. So just as a kind of quick comparison, as we like to say, the 4-year BEd is the quickest way to earn a BEd degree and get that teacher certification. So if you're 100%, you want to get into teaching, that's a great opportunity. Or if you are really wanting to get some, foundational breadth experience as well, they have a great breadth of courses. The field experience also occurs earlier in the program. And then also there isn't a transfer credit limit on this particular program pathway. So if 2 to 3 years into, say, a Bachelor of Arts program or a Bachelor of Science or maybe an engineering program, you're like, you know what, I really wanted to go into education, you can apply for a change of program to this pathway. There isn't a transfer limit. Now, for the 5-year concurrent BEd, this one, it allows you to get, as I said before, graduate with 2 degrees in 5 years. It gives you more flexibility to pursue a co-op, a minor, or if you're really interested in some of the study abroad options that's offered through University of Calgary International, lots of opportunities there within that co-degree to do those kind of things. It also offers greater subject area expertise. So if you're really wanting to teach at a secondary level, concurrent can be a really great opportunity. Or if you're looking to go on to do masters in other areas, that can also be helpful to have that co-degree in another area as well. And then there is more elective and open option flexibility as well. But with that one, there is a 20 course limit on our concurrent program. So you have a couple of years to kind of transfer in if you do choose to do that one, but there is a limit to that one with transfer credit. Okay, so transferring to Werklund. Transfer credit is only assessed upon successful admission to the program. So that's an important distinction. A lot of students are like, well, how much time do I have left in my program? It really can only be determined once you're admitted, because it does vary by which program and teachable you're admitted to. There is a difference, however, though, between transferable and applicable credit. So courses can transfer, but whether it applies towards your degree is kind of the question. And this is where looking at that once you're admitted is really important. If you do have transfer credit, you're welcome to speak to an advisor, and we can tell you a little bit more about kind of how it's working with the program that you've then been admitted to. But I will note that we do not offer transfer credit towards education specific courses. So that's an important thing. You can receive credit towards your non-education or co-degree course requirement, but education courses, due to things like certification, we don't award transfer credit towards those. So that's an important thing to know. Okay, so getting into some of the fun stuff. So Werklund experiential learning programs are kind of the hallmark of what makes Werklund so great. I've done a lot of research on some of the different BEd programs across the country, and one of the things that consistently stands out is that we offer some of the most experiential learning of any program, basically in education across Canada. So some of the student opportunities that we offer, there's a link right here on the page, but we offer things like service learning, which is an opportunity to earn co-curricular credit and get involved with some great organizations across Calgary. We also offer the fantastic teaching across borders, which I'm going to talk about soon. And then we also offer professional learning opportunities. So again, ways to add kind of an extra zhuzh to your resume. We do also offer land-based opportunities, and these are some award-winning Indigenous education field trips where you're learning basically in situ on the land, oftentimes partnered in with Indigenous teachers or elders as well. And then we do also offer a great mentorship program. So if you're a first-year student and you're really interested in being mentored by a more senior student in the program, we do offer that opportunity. And then also when you're a final year student, you could be mentored by a teacher, actually. So that's a great kind of stepping stone to that. And then the last but not least, we do offer some great research opportunities as well. So summer research opportunities, you can get thousands of dollars in funding to do some really exciting research in the field of education and dip your toes into, all about research. So I talked about teaching across borders. So TAB is one of the programs, as we call it, that gives you an opportunity to actually do an international education kind of placement. You're not going to miss any of your time in your classes, and this is typically done in your final year. So you'll apply basically the semester before your final year of your BEd program. We have 13 placements across 10 different countries, and student workshops are held during that fall semester of your Education 400 level courses. So you can kind of attend that, get some more information. Ultimately, as I said, you're going to get placed in your final year, and you'll have an opportunity to live in the host country for approximately 9 to 10 weeks. So how that kind of works is that during the time that you're in TAB, you'll actually do courses online. So you're not going to miss any of your courses, but you'll get that additional opportunity to have that international experience, which is really helpful. And we've actually had students who've gotten early job offers in countries like Japan and Spain from their teaching placement experiences there, and they've really loved those. So there's some great opportunities. If you do have questions about TAB, you can contact tab@ucalgary.ca. Other resources across campus. So of course, we have our lovely student advising team of myself, Leanne, Caitlin, and Will. So we're here to kind of help you. Generally, we respond to emails within 3 business days. So it depends on obviously peak periods of the year and any holidays and whatnot. We usually are really responsive on emails, and we're here to support you. You also have wonderful directors of student experience. Right now, that's Cynthia and Umit. So they're there to kind of help and support if you have kind of issues that come up in your program, or if you've got, kind of questions, or you're needing some supports because you're struggling on a certain, course or whatnot. So they're there kind of as a go-to resource to meet with and talk to and get some supports and referrals if needed. We also have Wellness Center, because mental health is a really important thing to always have conversations about. And that is a great resource. So you can get counseling that is funded by your tuition. So that's always a nice resource as well. And then the Student Success Center is kind of like wellness for academics. So they're there to support if you're having kind of any academic challenges. They offer wonderful workshops as well. Student accessibility services is there to support if you need any accessibility supports, if you've got disability, or if you have specific learning needs that they can help assist with. So they would be a great resource to apply to early, so you can get that set up by the time you're entering in onto the fall. We also have our lovely admissions office. So they're there to answer any questions about kind of admission. If you're applying, if you're having any issues, they're there to kind of support you with that. And then if you've got questions about loan, financial aid, student awards, all of those kind of things, financial aid office is there to be kind of your go-to liaison between like Alberta student loans. If you've got questions on awards or funding or whatnot that you're receiving, if you're having any kind of issues with payment, they're the best office. So financial aid will be able to assist with that. The other great thing, and I always find this is underutilized, career services. They're there to help you, to tell you kind of about different career opportunities. We work in conjunction with them for many of the career sessions that we do. So one of the things that we're going to do a lot of in the program, if you're admitted into the program, is talking about careers and talking about certification and talking about alternative careers in education, because oftentimes people aren't just thinking K to 12, they might be thinking beyond that, because there's many things that a University of Calgary education degree can actually work towards. Actually, we have an advisor in our office who got their BEd. So it is something that is constant, things you can think about in terms of different careers. We also offer Indigenous careers in education sessions, and how to, boost your resume and some of those interview skill sets that we talk about. And you get an opportunity to hear from graduates of the program as well as current students. And then we also offer supports at the University of Calgary through Writing Symbols Lodge. So if you're an Indigenous student, or if you're looking at learning more about Indigenous culture, Writing Symbols Lodge has a lot of resources for Indigenous students, and they're a great point of contact for connecting with Indigenous communities in Calgary. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. So we offer up-to-date advising on our contact page. You can kind of check that out, because we have drop-in advising on Zoom every Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 10 until noon currently. We also offer bookable advising appointments that are about 20 minutes long. And then we also have in-person advising appointments. So majority of our advising right now is via Zoom, just because we know that students want to access us off of Zoom. And if you're an international student, oftentimes that's the only way of reaching us. But yes, the best way to kind of figure out when we're available and what our advising is the contact us page. But if you have a UCID, you can book in directly there. And then if you don't have a UCID and you're not yet a UCalgary student, then just contact us by email and we can get you set up, or you can access drop-ins right off that page. Couple of important things for if you're a parent or a spouse that really wants to be involved with your student's application and things like that, because they are adults, they would have to make sure to check the FOIP regulations. So things like third-party authorizations would need to be set up if you're looking at asking questions of our office, because we can't disclose otherwise student information. And that is it. So we are at time for kind of questions. I'm going to just stop the screen sharing here. Now, in terms of questions, I think a really great way to approach this would be if you can, raise your hand with a little reaction gifts. I'm happy to call on you, and then you can unmute your mic and ask away. But yeah, I'll give everyone a few minutes to kind of gather the questions. We've got a smaller group tonight, so it's really great. You're going to have a lot of time to kind of answer questions. And also, if you're not comfortable asking very specific to you personal questions, we do also, you can email us to ask any specific personal questions as well. Oftentimes, people have lots of questions. So field experience, it starts at different times depending on what program you're in. So the four-year BEd program will actually start earlier than when the concurrent program starts for field experience. So it does start kind of at different times depending on which program you're in. So that's something that I would definitely recommend checking your program page about. And I can just show you an example here. So I will just share my screen with you. Okay, so this is the 5-year concurrent program page. And if you have a look down here, you'll be able to see that in years 4 and 5, that's when you're starting your education terms and then your field placements. If you, however, go to the 4-year program page, you'll be able to see here that it's structured just a little bit differently, in that your fall 400s in year 2 is really when you start your first fields, and then you have fields 2, 3, and 4 structured that way. But the other thing too with the 4-year BEd program is that it's important to meet with an advisor if you do have kind of questions about program structure or restructuring, especially if you have transfer credit. Hope that answers your question. Awesome, thanks. Okay. Yes, Japan is an option for a program, and that's fantastic. If you're learning Japanese, I would definitely include that in your interview. So the question was regarding TAB, and is TAB an option? It definitely, or sorry, is Japan an option for TAB? It definitely is an option. So one of the things that I would recommend is on the student opportunities link that we have on our website, you can actually check our partner countries and placements there. And I will just share my screen with you again, because I like doing this. It's helpful to navigate our website because we've got a lot of good resources there. But yes, we have 13 placements in 10 countries. So Japan is definitely one of them. China, Vietnam is really great as well. We've also got Australia, and we might even add new partners, typically usually one a year. There's Brazil, of course, Quebec City, Oxford in Mississippi in the United States, and then we've got Germany, Italy, and Spain as well. So that's just currently what we have on offer. Yeah, great question. So there is a question about when you get your BA in Alberta, and I'm assuming you meant BEd in Alberta possibly. Do you have to do anything else to be able to teach in Canada, in other provinces, or in different countries? So yes, once you finish your program, you'll be recommended by us for professional certification. So the program meets certification requirements in Alberta. Once you have intern professional certification, you can then use that to apply for other provinces. And we actually will offer information about this once you're in the program as well. It's part of like the certification FYIs. A big tip for you, however, if you're looking at different countries, one thing that we've come across is that there are some countries where they'll want to see course outlines from every course you've taken in your degree. So it's a great idea to save your course outlines, back them up on a USB somewhere. So as you're moving through whatever program you're going through, definitely save course outlines. It's never a bad idea to have those backed up, but we can also talk to you about kind of how that application process might work. It is though on you to make sure to check certification requirements in those other countries, because there may be additional course contents or possibly practicum that you may need to use. With that said though, Alberta certification is quite high in terms of the standards. So there's countries like in China where the Alberta curriculum is actually used, and people want to hire from here to teach there, to teach that curriculum. So it's definitely something that is very mobile and global as a degree. But yes, it is something that you can do. So definitely don't hesitate to reach out for that. There's a question of interested in secondary math 5-year concurrent program. What would I enter as my first and second choice on the UC application? So, I mean, the concurrent program is a combined degree program, so you're going to be applying for both faculties. But Carly, I don't know if you want to chime in on that a little bit more.
Sure. So when you'd fill out your application, you would put your first choice option in, and then you would have a little checkbox that says, would you like this to be a combined degree? So if you wanted it to be education with, you would click yes, and you'd click education and math as your first choice. And then your second choice can be another combined degree, or it could just be a single program. If you wanted to maybe try the 4-year education program as your second choice option. But we're going to actually evaluate you for each of these programs separately. So your first choice is maybe something with a little bit higher admitting average that you're maybe striving to get while you're in high school. And then sometimes your second choice would be something maybe with a lower admitting average that you think may be a little more attainable.
Thanks so much. Yeah, and then Grace had a question. You mentioned allowable degree combinations for the 5-year concurrent BEd. Is there a list of the allowable degree combinations accessible to us? Yes, there is. So it's available on the website. We also have it listed in the calendar as well. If you do have questions about that, though, I would also recommend reaching out to our office. And again, our email is UPE, undergraduate programs in education, at ucalgary.ca, and we can definitely meet with you to kind of discuss some of the options. So as Carly was mentioning previously, you may want to think strategically about kind of what you apply into, and we can certainly talk to you about some of those options. We do have a wonderful teachable subject area overview as well of all of our different teachable subjects in our website. So that's something that you can also take a look at as well if you're kind of curious about what these different teachables are. And then Ryan had a question wondering if credits from MRU's education program are transferable to U of C. So yeah, transfer credits assessed after the point of admission. We've definitely had transfer students from MRU. It just depends on how they will transfer. It's often not a question of if they'll transfer, it's just how they transfer to that specific program, whatever program that you're in. So that, again, that's something that, you can talk about with an advisor, but ultimately it depends on, what you're admitted to and then how that assessment's done. But yes, if you are looking at the 4-year and 5-year program, that's ultimately assessed by admissions. I don't know if Carly, you wanted to chime in any more about that?
Sure. Typically, how it works when you apply, we don't do pre-assessment, so we can't tell you before you apply what credits you're going to be getting, but you can kind of get a good idea for yourself. If you go on Alberta Transfer Guide, we use that to assess credit. So if you see a course at MRU, you can see on that website kind of what it transfers for to us. So the admissions office, we would give you a general credit for the courses that you take, and then we would give that to the faculty, and they would choose if that is relevant to a specific credit. So if it is the specific credit, you could get a straight across credit, or maybe it would be something similar that we find the course outlines are close enough to our program that we could give you the credit for that.
Great, thanks. What is the typical admission cost for a 5-year for fine arts and education? So tuition prices are actually located on the calendar and the website, and actually on any one of our program pages, right down at the bottom of the page, actually is this wonderful cost estimator tool. So the standard is that in our program, you're going to be taking 5 courses a semester over like two semesters in a year. And then depending on the length of your program, you can multiply that by the level of semesters. But on average for domestic students, based off of this year's calendar, and that can change from year to year, an average course is around $616. And then there's, some additional like student services fees and things like that. Because the great thing is you will get a U pass, so you get Calgary Transit included, and then also access to the gym and some of the other facilities as well. But yes, thank you. Carly's just put the cost estimator right into the chat. So you can select Werklund School of Education. You can select if you're domestic or international, because international tuition is a little bit different. And you can also put in those 5 courses per semester, and it'll give you a per semester estimate as well as an annual estimate. Carly, there's a question of when are applicants normally notified if they've been accepted into a program?
Yeah, so our application opened on October 1st, and our first round of offers just went out mid-November here. We just started giving out offers. So those will be early admission offers when we're looking at students' grade 11 marks. So the earlier you apply, the earlier we can evaluate you, and the earlier you could potentially get an offer. So right now, as I said, we're looking at grade 11, and as the admission cycle goes on, we will continue to evaluate you. You'll be evaluated about 5 times over the course of the process as more marks become available. So if you don't receive an offer right now, you don't need to apply again. We're just going to hold on to your application, and we're going to wait until your fall marks are complete. We'll evaluate you then for standard and early admission. And then finally at the end of the year, once your marks are all finalized, we will evaluate you one final time with standard admission. So it's really just kind of a waiting game, and you will get an offer kind of whenever you meet the requirements and you have the GPA and the required courses for the program.
Thanks so much. I will also just mention on top of that too, that if you are applying for a rural remote community-based program, which is another offering that we have for rural remote students, there is also the consideration of ranking of area and location, because we do look at that. And then if you are a French applicant, the other thing that we will also do is a proficiency interview if you're going for the 4-year, or not the 4-year, you're going for the concurrent, but that's later on. That's not when you're admitted. That will be when you enter your ed term. So it's important to make sure that you would be eligible for a program when you look to apply. Okay, there's a question. If I apply for the concurrent program, example B.Ed and Bachelor of Science, do I receive an offer for each degree or one offer for the combined degree? Carly, if you want to, I think, chime in on that.
Yeah, sure. So for a concurrent degree, for all of our other programs at the university, when you apply for a combined degree, you would have to meet the program requirements for each program separately. And then we would evaluate you for each program separately, and then you would get an offer to both programs. Education is a little bit different, that we have requirements for each program, and then there's a new set of requirements kind of for applying to the 5-year combined degree. So basically, you're going to need to meet the requirements. I mean, they're all listed on the website of what's needed to meet for the 5-year degree, but you're going to need to meet the requirements for your non-education program. So you'll meet all the requirements for those, and there's a few education requirements you'll need to meet as well, depending on the program you're choosing. But I can put the link in the chat for that as well.
Great, thank you. And then someone has asked, Lorelei has asked, does accepting your second choice affect your first choice application? I know based on my experience with that is that students can freely accept their second choice, but if they're waitlisted for their first choice, that's still being considered. Carly, I don't know if you want to chime in on that.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. So first choice, we understand that's always your first choice. So we're going to continue to evaluate you for that. And if you choose your second choice offer, even if it's into June, you've already selected your courses in May for your second choice. If once your first choice finally becomes available, if you're finally admissible for that, we will give you that offer, and you can just switch over to that, and the fees and everything you've paid for your second choice will be moved towards your first choice.
I'll also mention too, is if you've already registered for courses based on your second choice offer and you're having any issues trying to change those over, don't hesitate to reach out, and we're also happy to help you with your registration, figuring that out as well with your courses. So Diane's asked, so if my offer for Bachelor of Science comes in before BEd, do I accept Bachelor of Science? I would accept, whatever offer you get first. Carly, I don't know if you want to chime in.
Yeah, so if we give you an offer, we'll kind of hold that offer. There'll be a date on it, the offer would expire. But yeah, it does happen sometimes that one or another you become eligible for before the other one, just because of the courses or the marks that you're presenting, because not all of our programs have the same requirements or the same GPA requirements. So definitely do accept the one half of your offer, and then we'll continue to evaluate you for your second half. The only difference is if you accept your first choice offer, we won't continue to evaluate you for your second choice, because we'll have decided, we'll think you got the offer that you want, and we're just going to stop evaluating you at that.
I think also what Dan was getting to was if they're given an offer for the one part of their combined degree program, but not say their ed side, what do you recommend for students there? Like, is it something where they should just accept that one part of their concurrent program, or?
Yeah, that's tricky if you don't end up getting that education side eventually completely. Yeah, that's something you may want to talk to an advisor about. We do always have the option for a change of program in your upper years. If you want to start your program with just the science half, and then hopefully in your first year you could change your program and apply again into the education side. At that point you'd be a transfer student and not a high school student anymore, so we'd be looking at the GPA that you have created in your first year as a student in post-secondary, and we could evaluate you again and look at you as entering that program as a transfer student.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Carly. And also mention that too. Let's say that you apply into, first choice combined degree program, but maybe you don't make it in on this, particular application round, and you're still accepted into, say, like a Bachelor of Science. Come and talk to us like sooner rather than later as advisors, because we can also talk to you about like that change of program application. So we can talk to you about kind of, if you're wanting to get an ed, what your different pathways can be with that. So that's a really important thing, is that the earlier you check in with us, following that application decision, the better, because then we can kind of advise you going forward on what, some strategic paths might be. So whether it's applying right away for a change of program or looking at, the after degree pathways, well, we're happy to advise on that. All right. So Jade asks, if you can get accepted to the program early, can it be withdrawn if your final marks don't reach the required average? Carly, I'm gonna let you take that away. Oh, I think you're just on mute.
Oh, sorry. This is probably the most popular question we get asked all year round. Everybody's worried about having their offer rescinded. But what we typically say is we would like you to maintain the average that you were admitted with. So if we sent you an offer at a certain average, we're kind of expecting that you'll keep that average. Now, early admission averages are actually higher than our standard admit average. That's why it's a little bit harder to get in early. We're looking at your grade 11. We're thinking we're kind of taking a chance that you'll keep those marks up. So if it does drop a few percent, that's kind of to be expected, and you would maintain your offer. Like I said, everybody is worried about this, but in general, I think we rescind less than 1% of offers every year. Students typically do tend to maintain their average, and you'll be given an email in April with the actual percentage that you will need to maintain that offer. And like I said, most students do, even though they're all a little bit worried about that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to ask a question? And also, as I mentioned before, feel free to unmute if you do feel comfortable enough asking a question live. I'll give you a few minutes to submit questions if you do have any more. Yeah, ultimately, really excited to hopefully have you all join our program. So the one thing I will mention too is that our program is designed to really, get you to become amazing teachers. The other thing I wanted to highlight too is that you're never in your courses and your field placement at the same time. So even during those education semesters, you'll have a fully dedicated time for your field placements. So we don't, have it overlapped both. And so that's a really great option as well. And if you do want more information on getting involved in things like service learning, please don't hesitate to reach out. We have a wonderful experiential learning coordinator who's there to kind of support those opportunities. And there's actually even some of the classes you can get involved in service learning. So the Education 450 is a great opportunity for that. Yeah, Phoebe has a question. So do you set up what schools we go to, or we do that ourselves? The nice thing is you do not have to do that. So we have a wonderful field team, and they actually work with a field instructors. So they're arranging placements based on partnerships, and that's something that we arrange for you. Now, the nice thing is, while the first field placement, it's observational, so we're just putting you into an elementary and a secondary context with other students as well. With fields 2, 3, and 4, you do actually get placed more into your teachable subject area, and so you're actually going to be given a field placement form that you'll want to fill out and put as much detail as you want to put in there. So if you're in an elementary teachable and you really, really want to do more of that K to 3, or let's say grades 4, 5, 6, then you can fill that out in your field placement forms. So it gives you an opportunity to get a little bit more niche, or let's say you get accepted into inclusive education, but you're really also interested in, like, let's say teaching English or supporting English language learner student, then you can mention that in your field placement form, and the field team will do their best to try and arrange you a placement that works based on your interest. You do want to kind of obviously prioritize what's the most important to you, and they can't always guarantee that they can find like the perfect match, because it does depend on their available placements, but they do an incredible job of matching you with that. And your field placements are always typically placed within a 75-minute commute of where you reside. And so that includes like transit or just driving basically. So you'll indicate all of that in your field placement form. So it does give you an opportunity in kind of fields 2, 3, and 4 to get more of that niche subject matter expertise. And that's a really big place where the teachables comes into place, primarily with your field placement. Wonderful. Any other questions at all? Maybe give it a few more minutes for any last minute questions to kind of trickle in. Well, I think if there's no more questions, Carly, did you have any last minute kind of like comments or words of encouragement or anything else?
No, thank you all for coming. You can always reach us. We're happy to support you. I work in the recruitment team, so our job is to work with prospective high school students. So you can email me personally at events@ucalgary.ca. I will write it in the chat. And that's everything for me.
Great, thanks so much. And I've just included our UPE contact information as well in the chat. So if you do have any questions, don't hesitate to follow up with us. But otherwise, wish you all the best, and hopefully we'll have you joining our program soon. Thank you so much. That's wonderful. All right, thanks, everyone.